Welcome to today's session on practical hacks, how to efficiently and effectively use AI. We would like to thank you, our patrons and sponsors and community partners, Business Map, formerly known as Kanbanize, Visagi, Change Angels, and Women in Technology and Science Ireland, who all show us great support and partner with us to deliver those meetups, and especially today's meetup. And I would like to invite you formally now to our today's meetup, which is ChatGPT Productivity and Work Efficiency Hacks, and is presented by Javier Luraschi, who is now based in Seattle, and he is a founder of HAL9 company, and he specializes, his degree is mathematics and software engineering, but at the moment he specializes in making AI, artificial intelligence, very accessible to all. And Javier will tell you that himself, but he's in the middle of a storm, massive storm. So he mentioned to us that his internet is not the most stable. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody, we won't have any problems. But if we lose Javier, please be mindful. It's beyond our control. And the last thing before we start, the talk today is very packed. So we will ask you to take a note of any questions you might have. And hopefully at the end, we'll have time for questions. If not, we will gather them. And then we will follow up with Javier, and we will have follow-up session or just, maybe newsletter answers to any questions you might have. So we apologize for it, but the session's packed. So let's start. Javier, the scene is yours.
Thank you, Jonah. And can you confirm that you can see my screen? All right, great. Yeah, so we have a lot, but Joanna already mentioned just a few seconds of overview of what's going on in Seattle. So Seattle, it's in the west side of the United States, and we just got like a ton of wind since 2 days ago. And, that's how the road of my, house looks like, and that's the power outages on the left. So it's literally 500,000 people don't have power, and the crew that was repairing power also got a tree fall on top of it. So it's, I think it's going to be all good, but just giving you a heads up that there's a lot of power outages in Seattle. So fingers crossed that everything goes smooth. And we have like a super packed agenda for today. So, I'll just spend, a couple minutes on intro. Then I'm going to try to cover all the content, which is a lot. I'll explain about it. And then we have a few minutes for Q&A. I already got a few questions in advance, so I'll definitely cover those. But yeah, it's going to be packed with information. And, the good news is that I'm hoping that you get a lot of value out of this. The bad news is that you might have to drink extra coffee while you're in this presentation, but it should be all good. All right, so a little bit about us. Joan already interviewed me. I'm Javier. Hi, everyone. My background is software engineering and mathematics, and I've worked at different technology companies. Now we're working at a company called HAL9 that we co-founded. My brother is my co-founder, and he's electric mechanical engineer. And we mostly have a lot of technical people in our team. So we're a bunch of technical people trying to make ChatGPT easier and more accessible at companies like the ones that you're working at. And we're also part of the Paul Allen Institute for AI here in Seattle, which has like hundreds of AI researchers and the like. And this is just to give you a background of who we are. And, I think what you should take from this slide is that we know a lot of AI, talking about generative AI and ChatGPT and the like. But for this presentation, I want to start from the very basics. So we're not going to talk almost anything about what we actually do in our company. We're going to talk about how do we use ChatGPT and the like in our startup and in my day-to-day job. And the first thing that I want to mention, and again, I'm starting from the very beginning, but if you haven't heard about ChatGPT, you should definitely, start checking it out and the like. And the best evidence that I have is if you search Google Trends, ChatGPT is getting searched 4 times as much as Excel. So just think about that, right? When I was a kid, Excel was just starting, and I saw businesses, adopting it and changing the way that they do financial projections, the way that they do planning, the way that they do their taxes, the way that they do strategic decisions and building and construction and Scrum and the like. So think about that, and ChatGPT is 4 times more used, or search at least, than Excel. So that gives you a sense of, well, maybe this is a random technology, I shouldn't look at it. Well, that's really not the case. Like it's getting a lot of attention, and I think it has a lot of potential. And again, zooming down into that, you might think, well, I'm an accountant, right? Or I'm a Scrum Master. Like, it doesn't apply to, ChatGPT should not apply to me, right? Or I'm in healthcare, that shouldn't apply to me. This is a survey that, has been done, that got started on 2023. So we have now the years of adoption of ChatGPT of 2023 and 2024. And what is interesting is that literally all the industries are using ChatGPT to some degree. Finance and accounting and legal were the 2 industries that were lagging. So those started using ChatGPT on 2024, and there was less use on 2023. But basically at this point, it is very well used across multiple industries. And it's just a good reminder, right? Like I really don't think that there is an industry that should not be using it. And we can talk hopefully some use cases and the like, but there is no excuse. Like everyone is using ChatGPT. Now sorry, I didn't mean to click that link, but that research was from the Wharton University, and it's a well-known source. Now the interesting thing is, if you only put 2 minutes of attention in this webinar, I think this might be the most important slide. What I wanted to convey on this slide is to say, I really believe that if you're not using ChatGPT, like your job potentially could be at risk, right? And it doesn't matter where you work. It could be on engineering, it could be on sales, it could be on healthcare, it could be on legal, it could be on government. I really do believe that all our jobs are at risk, or you can see it as also an opportunity. And like if we're not using ChatGPT at work, it's probably a red flag. But on the other side, and it is equally as important, if all we're using at our jobs is using ChatGPT and answering questions with ChatGPT, that's also really bad, right? We cannot rely on ChatGPT to do our job. It doesn't matter where you work, right? Like engineering, research, government, or healthcare. If you go to the doctor and you give your symptoms to your doctor, and the doctor copy pastes that into ChatGPT and gives you the result, that's probably a doctor that I wouldn't recommend, and that's not the way of using ChatGPT. So really the challenge that we have in front of us is we have a very important technology that we should all be using, but it's also, it takes some understanding to figure out how to use it properly, and where is the middle really in between not using it at all and using it for everything. It is my point of view that both are wrong, and we need to find exactly what's in the middle and how the middle is moving over time. So say another way, that example, what we're gonna look in this webinar is we're gonna start with, the simple use cases, the types of cases or hacks that I use, where I use ChatGPT for literally everything, right? And you may think like, oh, ChatGPT is great, like I should use it for everything. It's so smart and so competent, and it tells me all my, answers all my questions. That's the first part of this webinar. But in the second part, we're going to look at all the problems that ChatGPT has, right? And we want to understand like what are the things that it's not good at. And then the third part of this webinar, we want to come back and figure out, like, after we understand what are the things that ChatGPT is not good at, is like, how can we overcome those limitations and try to use it for everything, right? Ideally at some point in the future. Yeah, and you can think also of this same statement. You can think about it as a roadmap adoption in your organization. I think the last 3 slides I'm saying the same thing on different ways, but you can also think of each organization is going to take some time to adopt ChatGPT. Right now, I think everyone is excited and is figuring out what to do and how to use it. Everyone is on the very initial organic phase. But also throughout this webinar, we're going to be looking at examples of, again, like how do we move from naive use and get us a lot of productivity gains on the short term to like understanding the issues to overcoming the issues. So this webinar is kind of like trying to cover everything of simple use cases, caveats, complex use cases. So, we're going to start with small steps. So I apologize for some of you that, maybe you're already a power ChatGPT user, and maybe it's not as interesting like the first, the next 5, 8 minutes, but we're going to start with the very, very simple use cases, and that should get us everyone up to speed. So yeah, again, I mentioned the 3 things that I'm going to split this webinar in. We're starting with the first one, which is just talking about productivity hacks and the like, and then we're going to look at the more advanced use cases. So the first use case is use ChatGPT as a smart coworker. Think of ChatGPT as, hey, I have a smart coworker. He might not be perfect, but let's just ask questions to ChatGPT that help us answer those type of questions. And I have a few examples here. All of these are real examples that I use on my daily life. So hopefully they serve as inspiration of how you can use ChatGPT. So the first one is, okay, I have a smart coworker that knows all the questions. In this case, I had to change the email address of a coworker in Slack. And, I didn't know how to do that. It's a bunch of settings. So what do I could potentially go to Google or spend like 5-10 minutes figuring out how to do the email changes for coworkers. I don't have to do that. I don't have to go to Google and spend those 5-10 minutes. I can ask ChatGPT, it gives me the steps and I get it done. Here, the productivity gain is maybe like from 5 minutes down to like 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever. They're like easy gains on the day that, that do help my bottom line. Another case, I was looking for investors of our company, and I was researching one particular organization called Greater Seattle Partners. Same thing, I could do the search, I could read all their, web page, figure out the correct things and the like, or I can just ask ChatGPT like, hey, what does this company invest in? Give me the thing. I realized that it was not for us. Next one. Maybe it saved me, 15 minutes, right? 20 minutes of researching a company. And again, it's just like easy gains. Another one on this use case, like this one is a little bit more tricky, so I won't explain the details, but I do a lot of engineering. We were talking about a technology called Kubernetes, and we had a simple question, right? And hey, like I just need that point of view. We got the answer, and it was done. Now, you can apply this to your job, right? And say that you're an accountant, right? And you're figuring out, like, hey, what are the new regulations that I should be looking at? Just like simple things, give a couple of pointers. You're not trusting ChatGPT 100%, but like they're just kind of like sending the ball to a coworker, you get it back, you get the answers, done. So anyway, so that's the first kind of like bucket of use cases that you can use ChatGPT as. Just think about it as a smart coworker that answers some questions. The next one, I use ChatGPT when I have a really, really hard problem. So say that you're solving, something really hard on, energy production, right? Or, materials or construction, in my case, it's engineering, right? Software. And at times you're going to be very stuck with a really hard problem. Don't expect ChatGPT to answer the problem for you. That's not what I meant on this use case, but use it as a way of getting unblocked. And I encourage this a lot to junior software engineers, where, hey, before you come with a question to me, which is going to take my time, I have to explain you and the like, whatever question you have, if you're stuck, ask ChatGPT. And again, this is applicable to different roles and the like, but I'll show you a couple examples. So I was, again, doing fundraising for my startup, and, like a VC was telling me, it's like, hey, you need to, I can't underwrite the risk, and, I don't understand it. I know it's like one of those things that I'm not an expert on fundraising, and I felt stuck. So I asked the question, and I got a few suggestions from ChatGPT. And again, I don't expect ChatGPT to tell me how to successfully fundraise on my startup, which is really hard. But hey, I'm stuck. Here are the things that I've tried. Give me a few pointers. Here's another one. Oh no, sorry, I skipped one. Yeah, I was preparing this presentation, and like I was trying to group the slides into 3 topics, and I couldn't find the last one, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. And again, I'm not expecting the answer from ChatGPT, but it's just give me options. It's like, this is what I've tried so far. What are the things that I haven't tried that might help me out? And again, it's just kind of brainstorming. Maybe 4 out of 5 are going to be incorrect or not useful, but you only need one to be on stock, right? And that potentially could save you hours or days of work, right? And another one, this one is super technical. We do AI projects, we help companies and the like. This is very nerdy, but we were solving a problem with a neural network, which is an AI model. Replace that with whatever you want, right? Like you're doing accounting for like for Ireland, but you're based on the US, and the company is like, also has business in Africa. I don't know. It's just like super tricky. What type of regulations should I look at? It's just a very hard technical question. I don't expect the answer from ChatGPT. I just need to brainstorm and get some answers. Right. And the last third use case, that covers all the simple hacks that I have on my day-to-day. I like this one a lot. I see it less advertised on social media and the like, but this is great for people that are a little bit of perfectionists. At times, I can dwell too long into one particular task, and I just want to make it better. So what this depicts is, already a very clean cat, even making itself like cleaner, which, at some point, maybe it doesn't really help you too much to spend too much time in tasks. So here are the examples that I have for you. So usually the prompt that I use is literally just improve. And, in this case, I was doing like a social media post, right? It's like, hey, this is what HAL9 it's at, blog post, whatever. And, you could argue that it's already mostly complete. It's like, okay, that's a reasonable blog post, but I just want to make it better. And better might mean checking grammar, which ChatGPT is great at. Targeting a message for your target audience. Maybe you work with a lot of engineers, but you're more on the business side. And, you want to send an email that it's a little bit more technical, and can do that translation, not just like from some business speak to more of a technical speak, right? So I think ChatGPT is great for all these things where you already have some text, and it's kind of like 90% done, but you still feel like, well, I need to improve it a little bit more, right? Like this doesn't feel right. You can just post the text at ChatGPT and say like, hey, help me improve this, right? And it will improve different things, and then you can have that conversation of, well, like, could you make it shorter? Can you make it longer? What about this? Can you change X or Y? Here's another example. It's silly, but it saves me time. I was just writing an email message to someone that I care, and I was just congratulating them, to their family. It's such a meaningful event to cherish many memories. It was just like the closing line on an email, but I looked at it and I'm like, why doesn't feel right? Like, is my grammar incorrect? Like, what's going on there? And again, what I did is just, hey, here's what I have. It's 90% complete. Can you help me improve it, right? And I got like a couple examples, and he's like, yes, this one feels more personal. I like that one. I improve it. Send it away. And another example here, email that I'm improving. The first email, it's ready to be sent potentially, but I read it and it's like, yeah, that, something falls off, like, what is it? And again, I copy pasted, put in ChatGPT, get a few suggestions. And again, this is not, when I've seen and this wraps up this section, but I think what is important to take from this section is sometimes we think about ChatGPT as it should be a tool that saves me 20% of my work, right? So we could potentially expect that ChatGPT, does 20% of a tax preparation, right? Or 20% of healthcare diagnosis. That's not really the way that I see the productivity gains. It's mostly what I showed is throughout the day, if I can save, like 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here, that's the 20% productivity gain that I can accomplish with these types of hacks. It's not rocket science, it's simpler things. It just helps me focus and get a little bit more work done and be more efficient. That's pretty much it. It's not, it's not like the robots are taking over our work, our job or anything like that. But if you become a proficient user of ChatGPT, I feel very confident that your productivity at work is going to increase. And it's little things, right? It's not like life-changing so far. All right, so we're doing okay in time. I know that we're going fast, but we're to the point where, okay, like I understand what Javier means by productivity gains are simple things, like questions that I'm sending, like, great, I get it. I'm gonna try ChatGPT. and I'm going to get those productivity gains. Now, what is very important is to understand what are the caveats of ChatGPT, and this is getting in the middle of our roadmap where you should be aware of the things that can go wrong when using ChatGPT. So I'm on the next few slides. What I'm gonna do is criticize ChatGPT in many ways, and then we're gonna come back to try to fix those problems at the third part of this part of the webinar. Yeah, so the way to think about this is, for those of you that have watched Space Odyssey, and our company name HAL 9 is inspired on HAL 9000. Basically, things went wrong on Space Odyssey, and at least our belief is that AI will need improvement, and we'll need to understand what are the caveats of AI, and we'll have to fix AI, right? So in this case, we believe at HAL 9 that we can make AI better, and a lot of the work that we do is related with improving AI and the workflows and the like. So anyway, so first problem, and again, I'm gonna go very negative, then I'm gonna fix with positive ways how we can fix this. So the first thing that you should be aware of is that if you look at the terms of service of ChatGPT, ChatGPT has the right to use your private data to improve the model. So potentially, if you tell a secret to ChatGPT like, hey, like here are the secret nuclear codes, right, or whatever, potentially if a third party country comes and asks like, hey, what are the secret codes from the US, right? Like they have the right, to improve the model and pass those secrets to someone else. So again, we'll come back and figure out how to fix it, but you should be aware of that. By default, anything that you do on ChatGPT, you're giving the right to ChatGPT to improve the model and make it better for you and for everyone else, which could potentially be a privacy issue. The second one, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click, but those are the terms of service. The second one is, when you ask ChatGPT for, say, like a private question, right? Like if I ask ChatGPT, like, great, Javier taught me that I can use it as a coworker. I'm gonna ask like, hey, what are the emails of my customers, right? It's just a simple question. ChatGPT should be able to answer it. And the reality is that no, it doesn't have access to private data. It's it's gonna give you some text that, hey, I don't have access to your private data, like that's not something that I do. It's like, okay, well, that's a problem. Like if you don't know anything about my private data, like how useful can you be? Then I asked the question is it good to water my garden, right? Like is it good to have a well-watered lawn? And the answer that I got is like, yes, having a green garden, it's great, and et cetera, et cetera. And my point of view is, if you care a lot about the environment, maybe it's not as important to you to have like a green, beautiful garden in your front yard. Maybe you care a lot about water conservation. But in this case, ChatGPT is giving us an answer, is being very factual, and is telling us, yes, you should do it. And the problem here is that ChatGPT is biased. It has its own point of view of the world, and at times, it can give you answers that, maybe, are not necessarily incorrect, but they're biased from what ChatGPT thinks is good in the world or not. Next one. So I asked ChatGPT, give me the 3 book titles that Javier has written. And he told me, hey, Javier has written Mastering Spark with R, Learning Spark, and Engineering Production Grade Apps. I only written 1 book, the first one. The other 2 books are incorrect. I have not written those books. And this is what is called hallucinations. And it would be the equivalent as forcing someone, it's like, hey, I wrote 3 books. Which are the 3 books that I wrote? And maybe they only remember one, and they make up the other 3. This could be good in some cases where you ask ChatGPT, like, come up with a poem or a story or the like. It's a very creative answer. But when you're looking for factual answers, ChatGPT and many of the large language models have this challenge that some answers might not be factual. Another issue is, I'm asking a simple question to ChatGPT. Are apples better than bananas? Obviously, there's no good answer there. It's I don't know which fruit is better. And, the answer is telling us no, which is fine. I don't care. I'm asking the question a second time. The answer from ChatGPT is again no. But if I ask the exact same question a third time, I get the answer yes. And I wouldn't expect this. When you interact with a computer program, you are expecting deterministic answers. That's what we expect. The best example it's when we do, for instance, math and the like. If we ask a calculator, if we give them a simple problem, it's like, hey, like I have this many employees and I pay on average this much. What's the total compensation budget? Um, in this case, again, ChatGPT is giving us the wrong answer, and it has the right structure. It's like the two first numbers are correct, and it shows the correct multiplication. The answer is not that far from incorrect, but it happens to be incorrect. So it's kind of weird that now we have computers that are kind of bad at doing computer-like things. Adding numbers and doing multiplication is one of the things that you would expect a computer program or a service to be very good at. And the best example is, computers were invented to help us in many ways with these repetitive tasks like adding up numbers, doing multiplication, and it's interesting that ChatGPT is really not good at math. It's not good at the things that we expect computers to be good at. So, here the complaint is like, why can't ChatGPT be like a normal computer, right? It's just something that is unexpected. Now, the good news is that that's the last of the caveats that we'll cover. And again, the point is not to be negative. Net, ChatGPT is super positive, but you need to be aware of all these issues, and be a skeptic when you ask ChatGPT to do a math problem. Is like, I know that you're good at reasoning, but like I need to double check it, right? Like that's one of the things. So I don't know if there's any fans of Westworld. That's an HBO show, about robots and the like. And hopefully I'm not spoiling too much, but there is one of the characters, Bernard. He's the director of the research facility. And then at some point, Bernard realizes that, he's not a person, but he's an actual robot. And that's, super interesting because I think, to me, this makes me think that you should start thinking of ChatGPT less of a computer, less of a robot and more of a person. And I don't mean to describe ChatGPT as a person, as it has consciousness or the like. I just mean it that if you try to think of ChatGPT as a person, it will help you understand the limitations and also the strengths of the technology. So yeah, I wanted to illustrate that point. Okay, so now we're at the part of the roadmap where, if you adopt ChatGPT in your organization, like maybe everyone is using it, maybe everyone now understands like the things that ChatGPT is bad at, right? And like one way of solving the problem is just to say, okay, I know that ChatGPT is bad at those things. I'll just be cautious, right? When I ask those types of questions, I know that is biased. I know that X and Y. But our goal again is to, at the end of this webinar, to be very much experts to some degree on how to use ChatGPT efficiently. So if we combine this slide with the previous slide, right, we should think of ChatGPT as a person for practical purposes, not for philosophical purposes. And then the question is, how do I make a person better to be able to solve problems that they're not good at or that they need to grow into solving them? And the analogy here is, okay, how do we make ChatGPT a better employee? How do we make it kind of like a Jedi? And if you look at Star Wars, plot lines and storylines and the like, there's really only two ways of, from my point of view, from helping someone become a Jedi. So when Yoda is helping Luke become a Jedi, there's really two big concepts that you can think of on how to make someone better, right? So the first one is you mentor them. So Yoda spends a lot of time telling Luke, it's like, this is what it means to become a Jedi. This is the things that you do. These are the things that you don't do. And this concept is going to be very important for you to understand when you're dealing with ChatGPT. Is like, okay, like I need to actually teach it. I shouldn't just expect answers in all the cases. I need to kind of like teach it. And the second way is you give someone a lightsaber. Obviously, ChatGPT doesn't need a lightsaber, but the concept here is to make someone better, you need to give them tools. So, like you literally give them tools that make them more proficient and the like. So those are the two kind of like categories that we're going to discuss to overcome all the challenges that I mentioned. And yeah, so let's just get that going. So for the first problem that we mentioned, where your data could potentially, be leaked to third parties, because by default, ChatGPT improves the model for everyone. The fix is very, very simple. All you have to do is you want to go to the settings, and there's a setting under data controls, improve the model for everyone. You can turn it from the default from on to off. That should turn it off. There's also like an option to create a private chat. So you can, when you click create, you can kind of like on incognito window when you browse the internet on private mode. ChatGPT has something similar where you can upload data without them necessarily leaking it, or improving the model with that one. But yeah, the most important thing is you're aware of, how to overcome it. That's one. Now, the second one, we were asking the question, what are the emails of my customers? If you think about it, ChatGPT doesn't have access to any of your private information. Now, in this particular case, if you happen to be using something like HubSpot for managing your customers, or if you're happening to be doing project planning in Microsoft Project, right, or Scrum in Trello or the like, kind of like what you can look into is, are there tools out there that connect ChatGPT with this data source, right? In the case of HubSpot, they have something called ChatSpot that is now part of their product. So you should be able to go to HubSpot and ask the question, what are the emails of my company? And now, since there's a tool that connects them, the two of them together, you should answer those questions. But the same applies to, hey, I want to ask, questions about my QuickBooks accounting or Trello or my GitHub issues or the like. Well, find a tool that connects ChatGPT with that thing, and like that's how you make ChatGPT more powerful. Next problem, remember we were asking if watering the garden is good or not. And we know that ChatGPT is biased. Is biased because ChatGPT was trained on all the data on the internet and a little bit more. So whatever biases the internet has, ChatGPT brings them along with them. And also the OpenAI team made it better, or improve it. So it is biased, right? So the way to overcome this is you can give it additional context. So I could say something like, "Hey, I only care about the things that benefit society economically. Like, is it good or bad to have a well-watered lawn?" And now the answer is telling me is like it's not. It's not good, right? It's okay to not water your garden. Basically, what we're doing here is we're teaching ChatGPT what are our values or what do we care about. So usually uploading data, to ChatGPT that is relevant to the question, or just copy pasting, like meaningful information that you care about. That also can help ChatGPT like be less biased and answer questions closer to the types of things that you care about. Here's one that I got the screenshot from HAL9 because we have a free version, but ChatGPT, if you pay the premium plan, you can upload also CSV files and which is Excel sheets and the like. So for the problem of how many books has Javier written, what you can do is upload to ChatGPT Premium or use a tool like HAL9 or Claude. We'll talk a little bit more about tools. You upload your data, right? Like, hey, these are my, this is my Excel spreadsheet with all the books that I've written or all my customers or all my revenue or the like. And then you ask the question is like, hey, how many books has Javier written? And now the answer is like, it's only one, it's Mastering Spark with R from O'Reilly. And again, you can do this with multiple tools. I just borrowed the example with HAL9. This one is actually a tricky one. The one that is random, just the way that AI works today, there's randomization in place. So asking, even if you ask one day ChatGPT one question and you ask the next day the same question, things are gonna change. But you can reduce that randomness, right, by providing additional context and information to ChatGPT. So in this case, for the apples and bananas question, which one is better? I told ChatGPT is like, hey, I care a lot about foods with more calories are better. It just it's the additional context. We're training ChatGPT with the assumptions that we have, with the premises that we have, and then we're asking the question 3 times. ChatGPT is still random, but it's using the information that we're providing, and the outcome is less random. So there's active research going on here, but what I'm saying is the more information that you provide to ChatGPT that is relevant, the less random it will behave, and I think that's good net. The example about the particular problem that we have on doing some math, um, same answer than getting ChatGPT Premium. So you can get ChatGPT Premium, which comes with a feature called Code Interpreter, which basically it's a calculator that comes attached to ChatGPT Premium. So you can either pay for ChatGPT Premium, and then you get access to giving ChatGPT a calculator, which is good. In our platform HAL9, we have a free plan, and you can add those types of questions, and we give you, we also enable ChatGPT with a calculator. And again, the tool matters less. What is important to know here is that you want to, if you're going to be asking math questions, and you want to rely on the answers, you should probably pay for ChatGPT Premium or use some other tool that has access to, that gives ChatGPT access to a calculator. Now, this covers, kind of like this section of improvements, on ChatGPT. But you might think, oh my God, kind of like Tony Stark here is thinking, this looks like a lot of work. Like I basically need to train all my employees, my team. I need to tell them how to use ChatGPT. Like I need to help them a lot. That sounds like a lot of work. Is there a better way? And the answer is yes. And we're getting to the point where we're kind of like on the most advanced usage of ChatGPT. So the good news is that we're there. So you made it all the way here. And we're going to look at some of the examples that can help us automate the tasks to help make our team more productive, right? And not have to go through all these learnings. So again, these are examples that we've done in our company. So they're truthful examples that save us a lot of time. So one of the integrations that we did is we didn't want to spend our daily scrums, with a recap of what everyone did on the past day. We wanted to spend time on blocking people and discussing important things. So what we did is we used Clockify, which is a tool to track our tasks in our company. They have a free plan, so everyone that whatever we work on, we put it on Clockify, and we do that for invoicing and the like. And then what we did is we connected ChatGPT with Clockify and asked ChatGPT, hey, every day at 6 a.m. in the morning, send us a message in Slack that shows who worked on what is the summary of the tasks that were accomplished the previous day, how many hours did we put, and then the breakdown of what everyone worked on. Now, what this enables us is there's going to be times where we don't need to meet for Scrum. And when we do meet for Scrum, we can spend those 30 minutes actually talking about the blocking issues versus, like giving a recollection of what everyone did the previous day, which, like saves us time. So we've been doing this for 2.5 years. Unfortunately, this is like a custom little tool that we built, just for us. But the learning here and what I'm trying to explain is, like the Jedi level of using ChatGPT is to think, okay, I understand ChatGPT, I understand their problems, I understand how to overcome them, but now I have a team dynamic, right? Or I have a particular problem at work where I need to do all of that automatically. And the answer is yes, it's possible, but it's dependent on your use case. And, I do believe that each company is slightly different, right? Maybe, taking notes is not the issue, but reminding them to do the work throughout the day, maybe that's the challenging thing, right? And you want to send reminders. It's like, hey, you were going to complete this task and the like. So, I mean, I wouldn't spend too much time here, but hopefully this gives you some idea of like the types of, things that we improve in. And I'm going to try to go fast because we have so many slides, but I do want to cover also the questions that you have. I'll send the slides and the like. So I'm going to switch gears and go a little bit faster. Another use case, we use ChatGPT to embed it in our website. I think that's a good use case to answer questions about your website. For a startup, it didn't work very well because we don't have a ton of customers that come to our website anyways, and we want to talk to you. But it might be the case, it might be a good use case to automate customer support calls with ChatGPT. And Another one, we have an integration of using ChatGPT directly in Slack that has some value, saves us a little bit of time, but it's middle of the spectrum, I guess. And this one I really do love. We generated a lot of our content in our website for the demos and the industry verticals. We automatically generated all that content with ChatGPT. You don't see it when you come to our website. You go industries, demos and the like, and you see images. But all of this was automatically generated, and this probably saved us a few weeks of work. Yeah, so that was a ton of savings and real use case that we did. Now, we could have done it by copy pasting to ChatGPT one by one. That wouldn't be that bad. It would have saved us, instead of 2 weeks, maybe 1 week. But yeah, we basically automated that process. It generated all the content, and then we were done. And this is just a quick learning. I think these types of automation projects on ChatGPT are tricky. And the best way to tackle them is incrementally. So divide and conquer. It's a practice that I'm sure many of you are familiar. My suggestion is, if you go and try to do an automation project with ChatGPT, don't make it huge in scope, but break it into very small pieces and try to get a quick win. It's like, hey, let's just like post the messages from Clockify into Slack. That's V1, and do a summary. Okay, done. And then you get the value, and then you iterate. Mostly because it's still a new technology and it's hard to get everything right on the first try. All right, I'll just use the 3 minutes on tools that we use, and then I'll switch to the questions that you have. So tools that we have explored, and this is related with the original question at the beginning of this webinar. We've looked into probably hundreds, if not more than 100 tools that all do AI. There's tools for, as one of the participants was mentioning, right? Like taking notes, like Otter AI and Read AI, can take notes of this presentation. Slack has an integration that allows you to use ChatGPT in Slack for an extra $10 a month. That's another tool. There's Claude, which is better in some degrees than ChatGPT. And again, we're taking a look at that. If you're writing code, there's a Warp terminal, and there's Copilot that can help you write better code. And to be honest, I think this would be an entire webinar, presenting hundreds of tools in the industry and finding and the like. There's a lot of them. What we have found out, and again, this is my our own company, so doesn't need to be necessarily the case for yours, but really the tool that we're using the most is ChatGPT. So there's 3 tools that we really use, but 80% of the work goes on ChatGPT. And the reasoning is that rather than using the summaries from Otter AI, just to build on that question from a participant, what we found out that has the most value is moving all the data to ChatGPT. Why? Well, Otter AI is going to give you a summary of this webinar, but it might focus on the wrong things, right? It's like, maybe just 3 paragraphs that is very broad overview. What you can do if you use heavily ChatGPT is like, you can take the transcription from Otter AI. I think that's really useful. You can paste it into ChatGPT and then say, hey, like I really care about the part where Javier was exploring tools. Can you make me a summary of just that area, right? Or can you elaborate more? Can you add additional points? So what we found out is that we're the most productive when we use ChatGPT heavily and push more data into ChatGPT. Same for coding. I use ChatGPT for coding a lot, but I don't use an IDE with ChatGPT embedded. I use ChatGPT for everything, as in, hey, I want to build a website for HAL 9000. What colors should I use? Orange. Okay, that's great. Write me the skeleton of that website. Okay, that's the thing I have. Now I move it to my ID and the like. So we use AI a lot in our company, but we disproportionately use ChatGPT, and we use very other few tools. The other tool that we use is called Midjourney and Flux. And again, this probably deserves an entire webinar on its own, but you can generate images with Midjourney and Flux. I'll show you a few examples. And the third tool that we use, and again, I'm biased, so don't believe me on this, but like we use a lot the tool that we built on our company, which help us build automation. So it's kind of like for the people that are at the very end of, hey, I want to automate X or Y. So that's what we use HAL9 for. But yeah, if you want to try Flux, we have a free version, and this is literally the last few slides, and I'll get to questions. you can go to hal9.com/apps/flux, or just click HAL9 and then look for the Flux model. And here are some images that we generated just for fun, like Baby Yoda using an iPhone, in a coffee shop, in selling lemonade, climbing a wall, and doing pancakes. So it's just one of those things that we use this a lot for marketing. It just for fun as well and the like. And feel free to use that app that we generated and look at it. All right, so we have I don't know if we need to hopefully finish on time. We have 9 minutes, and I have a few questions that we got submitted before the webinar. So the first question is like, how can you future-proof your role in QA test against AI? And again, I think the questions really apply to all the stuff that I said in this webinar. So like, you can apply the concepts to answer all these questions, but I wanted to give like a real use case on how would I would improve my QA testing with ChatGPT. So this is a real piece of code that I got from HAL9. It helps us do authentication, and it's one of the things that I would want to QA test, right? It's like, hey, I should probably do this better. So what we did with ChatGPT is I copy pasted the code, and again, this follows the pattern of, being a very smart coworker, like help me solve a hard problem. And I was like, hey, what things should I test on this function, right? Or on this feature? And I got 5 different QI testing things that I should consider. And again, like many of them, you probably already know them, but maybe there's a blind spot that you have, maybe something that you didn't spot it. So using ChatGPT for QA in this way, it's a great way. Now, the more complex one would be, you can also build an automation, right? So you can look at the API that you're testing. This is using, just one tool called Postman. And then you could potentially use a tool like ChatGPT or HAL9, build me an application to test this URL. And, you generate the code to test that particular application. That's more on the automation side, but that's kind of like the type of use cases that, like the future proofing basically means you need to embrace generative AI in your workflows. And again, like you have 2 examples. One is, getting brainstorming with ChatGPT and, like getting your testing coverage broader and just by the nature of using it. And the second one is, trying to automate some of those processes and the like. So there's another question is, what advice do you have for non-technical IT roles to keep an employment advantage with regard with AI training and related courses? I don't know if I fully understand the question, but what I wanted to share here is I wanted to find kind of like the best course for, like using AI and the like for training. I think it's still very early on. It's kind of like tricky to find that information, but I think my best recommendation is 2 ways. One is you can follow our company on LinkedIn, and we try to do posting of like new things that we're following and the like. The other one is if you search LinkedIn for ChatGPT with a hashtag, it should take you to a page that looks like this. So you can, like it says ChatGPT has 100,000 followers, and then you can follow the hashtag. And then basically you're going to see on LinkedIn, like ways that people use ChatGPT is like, hey, like there's this new app, there's this research and the like. It's not perfect, but it's like a way of keeping up to date with ChatGPT, right? Now it's very early on, so that's the good news. There's still a huge advantage to be taken, but it's also kind of messy. And I think, I have like less particular courses to recommend, but rather be part of the community and, be some of the people that are innovating in this space and the like. Yeah, another question, somewhat related. As a program manager, how do I best recommend we direct product and automation teams to utilize AI? Perhaps a standardized AI training framework is the pipeline at an international level. Any thoughts? This question, the answer is like, it is like a really hard question. But what I want to say is, if you want to talk with me and our team, feel free to book us. So you can go to hal9.com and we can talk about your particular answer, issues. We do have a training for AI. The challenge is that we have a training to use our tool, but I can try to find out a partner that could potentially do the training. So the short answer is, I don't know, but if you want to book me 30 minutes, we can talk about the particulars and I can point you in the right direction. At our company, we don't do training per se of ChatGPT. I do have a couple pointers that maybe I can recommend you to, as long as you have some budget and the like. But yeah, it's like a tricky one. I didn't know the answer on top of my head, and but happy to chat about that. This one I think is super interesting. Someone asked the question, what particular task of HR can be managed with the help of AI? Which AI would be the most suitable for it? What information is safe to upload to AI? Are personal records safe to upload to AI? So again, probably you should book me and we should talk more about this. The short answer is like, yes, there are solutions for everything. You can run AI privately in your cloud. I teach you how to turn off the model. You can also use a private model. And the answer of which HR task can be managed which AI, the answer is all of them. But the bad news is that there's no tools yet that automate yet all of these for you, or that I know of. So let me, what I wanted to show is, and I can send the link or you can find it online, but there's a company called Lemonade. They're an investor. They're like a insurance company. They just did an investor presentation day where they show how they use AI on the back end, like on their HR processes and the like. And they had to build their own integration. So it's kind of like being a Jedi of AI automation. But here are some of the examples. So, first of all, they're trying to really embrace AI in their DNA. I borrowed these slides. Hopefully that's okay with them. I mean, it's public. And they have a lot of their processes on the back end. They use AI to automate the tools. So here's one example, for instance, is I think this one was for procurement. So when there's an expense that goes above the limit, like the AI will send a message and say, hey, like, can you approve this? Yes or no, right? I think you should approve it, but is this okay? Yes or no? And they built like a custom integration to do that, right? They also are doing performance reviews with AI. So they built another automation in Slack that does the 360 feedback review. Now, they do the collection automatically, and then they build the summary. Now, a manager still needs to review the 360 review, but they basically built a kind of like a little automation that automatically goes and asks feedback for everyone. Yeah, everyone, for all of their colleagues that need the 360 review. They save it internally, and then they build this report, right, of like, hey, like, how are you performing against, like, your peers, and like, is it going up or down? And again, I think this is like a great way of using AI and automation in the workplace. But the bad news is, what I've seen is that this is so early stage that a lot of the automations that I've seen are kind of like they're ad hoc tools that are getting built for organizations, and less of products that are ready to use. But you should also search online, and there might be some of them and the like. But yeah, I mean, maybe we have time for one question. Up to you, Joanna. But if you want to connect with me, you can find us on hal9.com. We have a Calendly link there to chat and the like, and happy to spend a little bit more time if one of you have a particular question or problem that you want to explore. Yeah.
So Javier, we actually have one more question on the chat. So when you were talking about the pitfalls and setbacks of ChatGPT, the question was written down. Do you end up writing really long prompts in your day-to-day to avoid the mentioned caveats?
Yeah, so what I do is I use the history. So the answer is no and yes. I start with very short prompts. Like, I try to always, it's like, hey, like, which, should I use Google Cloud or Microsoft, right? Like, that can be my prompt. And then I get an answer, and then I interact with ChatGPT. And if the answer feels like, oh, it's not considered X or Y, I copy information about, our usage of cloud compute, right? So the answer is yes at the end, because I end up iterating with ChatGPT, over a few ways back and forth. But at the end of the day, I do end up, the prompt ends up being long, in the sense that I iterate with ChatGPT in a few different ways, and I pass the information that I know that ChatGPT is missing to answer the questions correctly. So yes, but I don't do it proactively. I do it more like reactive. It's like I ask the question, and the answer doesn't feel necessarily correct, and then I add the additional information. Sometimes I also come back to previous history. So I would, if I already ask a question about should we go for Google Cloud or Microsoft as our cloud provider, I open the history where I talk with HAL9, with HAL9 or ChatGPT about that. It doesn't matter. And then I actually ask the question. He's like, oh, okay, like I'm going to ask a follow-up question. So I use the history and I do a lot of copy pasting. That's kind of like how I use it. But yeah, that's the workflow that I have.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. If you have any more questions, please either ping Javier himself via HAL9, or you can ping us, you can send a message to us, and we will be very happy to follow up with Javier regarding that.